to adopt one of our dogs, and he was 18 and still lived with his parents and wanted to adopt a dog. And instead of just kind of ignoring his application, I'm gonna take the time to have a conversation with him and say, hey, like, I was also I adopted my first dog when I was 18, when I was still living with my mom, and it's hard, and I don't want to turn you down. So I'm gonna I want to adopt a dog into foster a dog.
Yeah.
Learn the experience of what it's like to take care of a dog, but without the commitment of keeping them for their lifetime. So also, if you can touch on that for any young people that they think that they need to adopt a dog or buy a dog, you don't have to do that. It's like dipping your toes. It's like babysitting with kids, It's like you're not having a baby. You're going to babysit the kid, and you're going to see how hard it is. And then you're going to be like, okay, I need to have my own house. I need to have a good job. And then I'm going to settle down when I have a dog.
It's not as big of a shock to your system of like what to expect with vet bills and the responsibility of like picking up poop and
my older dog. I just spent $8,000 on him in the past 6 weeks. Yeah, and then even after insurance, I still paid almost $4,500 out of my pocket. So it's like, if an 18-year-old that's happening, then they're gonna end up losing their dog because they have to give it up because they can't afford it. And you don't want that experience to be on someone so young, So
that's traumatizing. That'll completely make them not want to.
That'll ruin their whole experience of wanting to get a dog.
Yeah, for sure. So I got that all, so that's good. We got all that. We'll touch base on that again. So I'll just do kind of like a little introduction, and then we'll kind of like go right into it. Alrighty, so I am here with Fatima, the wonderful dog mom of Cantu, who is Cantu on Wheels on Instagram. He has over 100,000 followers, and as the handle implies, little Mr. Cantu, an incredibly handsome blue pitty like my Mr. Breakfast here. I don't know if you can see him. He does have his very own set of wheels. That doesn't mean he's driving a car. That means he is in a wheelchair. So first off, let's start with the basic. Like, how did you find Cantu? What's his story?
So it was 4 years ago. I started kind of wanting to get into fostering. And, I live in Boston, so I started looking for rescues around me. And, I would apply to foster. They would never get back to me. So I started following this rescue called Rescue Dogs Rock in New York. And I applied to foster for them. And they followed right up with me, even though it was 4 hours away where they usually have their dogs. And then, they add, when you become a pre-approved foster, they add you to this Facebook group where they will post like, this dog needs help, this dog needs a foster, blah, blah, blah. So I was pre-approved already. They did my home visit, my references, my landlord check, and I went on the page, and all I see is this video of this the director of the foster department for their rescue wrote, Cantu, needs a foster as soon as possible. She made up like this whole like sob story, which at the end of the day wasn't true, but technically saying that this this was like 14 weeks old, swimmer syndrome dog needs a foster. So
can you elaborate a little bit on what swimmer syndrome is?
Yeah. So swimmer syndrome is technically when puppies are born split out, like they don't have, I'm not sure 100%, but I'm pretty sure it's like the strength. And, at that point I had watched dodo videos about, swimmer syndrome pups that are born like split out, that through physical therapy, they can walk. So I was like, oh, like I'm working from home. Like I can totally do that. Like I have the time. So she said, so they wrote swimmer syndrome pup needs that. And I was just like, all right. So I messaged her and I was just like, hey, like I have the time. I'm in Boston. I'll drive to New York to pick him up. I'll handle everything here, appointments, anything. And they were like, that's fine. And I was like, perfect. So they were like, find a physical therapist around you. I found one 40 minutes away from me that would give rescue discounts. Dr. Star, she's incredible. She saved my life. I swear to God with Cantu, but I'll go into that. So they were like, all right, so Cantu's coming from Texas. And I was like, oh shit, like, okay. So then they brought him from Texas to New York. And
they just had transporters, like people drive all the way up there?
Yeah, they transport.
Awesome.
They transport like a big van of dogs from Texas to New York. And I was like, wow, incredible. So I drove 4 hours to New York, and the pic in the video you see like Cantu just kind of splat out, like kind of like, hey, like it's the cutest video ever. I mean, I don't know if you can get a cue of
I
Al.
saw it. Oh, I saw it. I'll
It's
add it on
so
here.
cute. And so then it was really late at night. It was almost like 10 p.m. when I got to New York, and then we met in a IKEA parking lot, and then these amazing transporters just bring him out in a blanket, and there's this like he was like this big tiny potato. And when I say potato, he was so round. And they just like handed him to me, and they gave me a freaking one Velcro diaper, and they were like, and I was like, okay.
See you later.
So then my friend came with me. He drove, and I stayed with Cantu in the car. And at that point, he has no bladder control at all. So he pissed all over like 4 times. And this is like 4 hours going like back to Boston. I was like,
And he's
whatever.
a
So I got
puppy.
home, yeah, I got home almost like at 2 in the morning. And then I bring him in, and I separated my dogs from him. I set up like a little area in my living room, and he's just crying and peeing all night. Sorry. He's crying and peeing all night. It was like 5 in the morning, I remember, and I grabbed him like a baby. I had a towel around him. Like, it was horrible. And I just started going like, it's okay. Like, and then I started crying, and I was like, I need to sleep. And then at that point, I was like, oh my God, like, what did I get myself into? Like, this dog just came 4 hours away. Like, what? So then he finally fell asleep. We both fell asleep on the couch like this. And then the next morning, I put him down, and it was worse than I thought. He was complete, so like split out, and he had absolutely no strength in his upper body to even get up and eat. So he was like eating like this, like technically thrown. So I was just like, all right, like that's fine. I'll start, kind of getting his legs together, so put him in a right posture. And then we started going to physical therapy. And at that point, I had no idea about belly bands. I had no idea. And then he started cutting his leg because he was dragging himself. And I was like, oh my God, like I have no idea what to do. And, there was really not that much support apart from, them paying the vetting bills, there was no much support, how I'm supposed to care for this tiny 20-pound, handicapped dog. What am I supposed to do? So we went to physical therapy, and the vet right up, Dr. Starr was, she was like, he looks like he has no sensation in the back of his leg. And I said, well, could that be because of the swimmer syndrome, because he's been splat out this whole time? He was like, I don't know, he needs to go to a neurologist. And I was like, okay. So at this point, he was like around like almost like, actually no, he was almost 4 months at this point. And then I took him into neurologist. And at this point, I'm trying to do physical therapy at home. In my mind, I'm like, Kantu's gonna walk. Like, Kantu's gonna walk. It's fine. Like, I'm gonna help him walk. I'm sorry. I'm gonna help him walk, and I'm going to hold on, I think I have to erase. Oh, nothing else pops up. My foster team is just talking to each other. I'm gonna help him walk. I'm gonna help him find a family, and this is gonna be my first foster experience, and I'm gonna keep fostering after that. And then we went to a neurologist. It was like at that point we had to wait. He was around 5 months old, and we went to the hospital, and the doctor came in, was like, I want to do a nurse, because I've noticed that my other dog was biting him they were playing, he was biting the back of his legs. And Cantu didn't even notice. Cantu would be sleeping, and my dog would be biting the back of his legs. And I was like, I noticed like he can't feel that. So then he took him back. They didn't do an MRI, but he did like a field test where they go down the spine to see at what point they stop feeling it. Like they shock him. And after his T7, like in his spine, Cantu just he didn't feel anything after that. And he came out and he said, he was really straight up. He was like, I've never seen he's like, I've never worked with a paralyzed dog. Okay. With a paralyzed dogs myself. And he was like, he's like, this dog has less than like 1% chance of ever walking again. And, you know, all the thoughts that I had in my head of,
Like that's walking in general, like even front legs.
no, so at this point, because he was going
Okay.
to physical therapy for about 2 months, he started like using his front legs
Okay.
up because, you know, and he started dragging himself.
Okay.
But then I did notice, so he went from being his back legs being splat out to curving to one side. And then the neurologist was like, that's a sign that he's paralyzed. He's like, dogs that are not paralyzed, they will keep their legs out. And it was like, as like someone that, you know, you just want them to like get better. Like when he said it to me, I was like, I'm sorry, let me figure this out how to.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine.
It's just gonna keep coming through. As someone that, you know, you want your dog, your foster dog, my first foster dog, to kind of like thrive and get better. And I had this whole idea that he's gonna walk again. I'm gonna find him. I'm gonna find him a foster, and I'm gonna find him an adopter. And he's gonna be okay. We went from that to him never walking again. Like that wasn't even like a possibility anymore for him.
Yeah.
And sorry, I'm just gonna take this out. My foster team, sorry, they just keep.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Take some water.
So we went from that, and then I remember just kind of like walking out of the hospital. Hold on, I'm doing this through my computer. I feel like I keep getting the messages. Okay, I walked out of the hospital like with like at this point he didn't even have wheels, and I was like carrying him, and I was like, fuck, like he's never gonna be able to walk again. And I'm like, what am I gonna do? Like here I'm thinking that, you know, this is temporary, like his struggle is temporary, and I'm like, this is gonna be a struggle for a lifetime for him. And for me it was like more upsetting because I was like this poor dog.
Yeah.
I remember putting him in my car, and like I'm just like bawling my eyes, like crying. I called my sister, and I'm like, Cantu's never gonna walk again. And like I'm like and like driving home. It was super dramatic. It was raining. I was like, what the fuck am I gonna do? And I'm in the car just bawling my eyes, like crying, calling everybody, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? What is he gonna do? You know? And I remember just like look, he had like the biggest eyes that you could imagine when he was little. And then I looked at him while I'm bawling my ass, like crying, like in the rain and driving my car. And he's just like, and I'm like,
what's your problem? Yeah.
And I'm like, he's okay. I'm like, why am I crying like he's gonna die tomorrow, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, no. I was like, and then like I saw him, like I'm like, it's gonna be okay. And like I kind of like snapped out of that. I can be a little dramatic myself too, but it was just a lot of emotions because 2 months prior to that, we were struggling so much when it came to, you know, him wanting to run around with my other dog. And I saw him struggle, and I'm like, and always said to myself, this is temporary. He's gonna be able to walk. He's gonna be able, you know, to run one day, and this struggle is gonna be like, it's gonna be in his past. He's never gonna have to deal with this. And then finding out that this is not a temporary struggle, and this is a long-term, like not struggle, but like difficulties.
Condition, like, yeah, this is it.
It was very hard for me to accept it. So look at it, you know, it's kind of just like, you know what, no. I was like, we're gonna go to physical therapy, and we're gonna get him as strong as possible, and we're gonna kind of keep going. Okay, I have to figure this out.
You're fine. Take your time. Yeah.
What'd you say, Jeff? I can't, because if I do that, hold on. Messages. I just got a new computer, and it's extremely.
Is it like a MacBook attached to your phone?
Yeah, that's what it is. Let's see.
Yeah, I don't know MacBooks. I do PCs. Chad knows MacBook.
He's like, how do you make it stop?
Let me
Okay, right here. Open conversation, details, hide alerts. There we go. Okay.
Should be like hide alert or like silence alerts or something like
Yeah.
that.
I hit the alert. Okay, so we start going to physical therapy, and this is where I mean like Dr. Susie Starr, rock star PT, and we would go down, drive 40 minutes down twice a week, and she got Cantu his first set of wheels. Like she had a lot of patients that would donate wheels after the dog passed away.
Because I know those are expensive, the doggy wheelchairs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we went down, and she was just like, hey, one of my donors has donated a set of wheels, then I think it's gonna fit Cantu. And I was just like, oh, like perfect, like, I'm like, this will help the rescue not spend that much money because he's gonna grow out of them. So then it was very random. Hold on, I have boogies, so I'm just gonna I feel it going down. Okay, so like I was just expecting for him to go to physical therapy, and then Dr. Susie Starr just puts him in a set of wheels. And if anyone else texts me, I swear to God.
It's like, I mean, you never get messages or contacted any other time except like
I have like 70 RMs. I can't. So I'm expecting to like go into just to do water therapy. No. No fucking way.
I know there's a way to just like silence. Is there like a do not disturb?
Yeah, I'm gonna hide alerts from everybody. That's in me.
Because I know sometimes hiding it'll still go bing.
Yeah. No, this is just, I have to just hide 3. Okay. All right. So here I am, current location. Okay. I was like, here I am, like trying to like, just going for like a regular PT. So she brings out a set of wheels. It was this tiny pair. She puts Cantu in them like in the back and says, call his name. So then I have my camera ready. I'm like, oh my God, like, is he even gonna walk in them? Like, and then he comes out flying from the back all the way to the front. And I'm like trying to like record it, but then my emotions are getting to me and I'm like screeching, I'm crying. And then like in the middle of all that, I'm recording and I clicked like the take a picture button. And then I just dropped my phone and I'm like, he was zooming, like he was meant to be in those wheels. And Dr. Starr turns around, she's like, I've never seen a dog acclimate to wheels faster than Cantu just did. And I'm like,
he was ready to go, man. He was ready.
I'm like, this is why. I was like, him and his wheels, they're like one. She was like, I've never seen that before. She was like, he just acclimated so quickly. So we went out to the park next door. He was flying. It was like zoomies from one side to the other. It's like he's never ran in his life, which he hasn't,
Yeah.
And I was just like in tears the whole time. Dr. Starr was just like, you have to stop crying. Like and I'm just like, this is amazing.
You have to stop crying.
The more you get to know me, I'm a crybaby. I cry for everything. So then, once his wheels just like, it changed his quality of life. Like we could go for, like, now we were going for walks in a wagon, but he couldn't walk out of the wagon. He would throw himself out of the wagon, and then he got his wheels and he would look, oh my God, Cantu would get so tired, but he would want to keep going. And, he was so little, and I remember being able to pick him and his wheels up the stairs. Oh. So his wheels really changed his life. So at this point, I'm still his foster mom, right? So I'm like, okay, he's handicapped, like handicapable. If someone's gonna adopt him, like obviously they're gonna see him in his wheels. He's incontinent. Cantu cannot control when he pees or poops. Mm-hmm. He can poop and pee on his own, but he doesn't control it. So it's also, finding a family that's gonna be able to change his diaper and do everything. It's gonna be hard. And I was just like, it's fine. So we would walk down my street, and then one day I remember some guy like saw me like, hey, like this dog's so cute. I was like, oh, I'm his foster mom. Like, this is Cantu. He was like, we live like 30 minutes, no, 20 minutes from here. And I was just like, oh, I was like, well, he's up for adoption, you know. And he was like, oh my God, here's my number. I'm going to talk to my wife. So then they texted me and they were like, yeah, like, can we do a meet and greet? We have 5 other dogs. And I was like, oh, okay. I was just like, all right, well, sure. So we drove down and Cantu met everybody. And he's a sass ball. Since he was little, he's little, but he was little but mighty. And now he's big and mighty like times 100. And he would like go up to, and then he would go up to them like, and then he would like do a quick turn and like drive over their paws with his wheels. And I'm like, and these poor dogs are just like, like the whole time. So then they were like, oh, like, let's try again. He's like, if I can take him for the day, that would be great. And I was just like, yeah, sure. So we scheduled a Saturday. I went out to brunch with my friends and he came to pick up Cantu. And I remember during the brunch, I was like happy, but then I was like, oh, like, wow, like Cantu might get adopted, you know? And this was like in July. He was like, in August, we're moving to a bigger house with no stairs. And, you know, he was telling me all of this. And then an hour later, he calls me. He's like, hey, can I come drop Cantu off? And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, I'll be home soon. And then he comes and he looks at me. He's like, he's been trying to come back home the whole time.
Aww.
And yeah, so like they live like 20 minutes up. No, maybe not even 20, maybe like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And he's like, the second I put him in my yard, he kept trying to come out. So we took him out for a walk and he was legitimately walking back. And I'm like, oh my God. I cried again.
Yeah, I was like, you cried again?
Surprise. Then like, you know, I live with my sister. So she was like, how did it go? And I said, look, Cantu kept trying to come back. And then she was just like, it makes no sense. And I'm like, we have to keep trying to find him a home because I have 2 dogs, you know. I was what? I'm 27, I was 23. And I was just like, I don't know, you know, where life is going to take me. I don't know if I'm going to be able to care for a handicapped capable dog my whole life, you know, for the next 10 or 15 years, yeah. Fingers crossed if he makes it that long, right? Fingers crossed that he does make it that long.
He will.
Yeah. I remember I ended up, after that didn't work out with that family, I bought him like an Adopt Me collar. So when we go out for walks, people can see it. And it was like, I was going through my Amazon packages like we all do at 2 a.m. and opening them up. And then like, I opened up the box that came with his Adopt Me. This was like a week after my sister was just like, you know, I think we start thinking about keeping him because like we've already adjusted to him. He adjusted to us. So then I opened this up and I was just like, oh my God, Cantu, your collar's here. So I put it on him. And the second that I put it on him,
sorry, crying.
Ball, and I'm just like, no, no. And then I took it off. I took him to my bed and we slept together the whole night. And the next morning I was like, Jezebel, my sister, I was just like, he's staying. And she was like, he's staying. Like this, in my mind, like the anxiety ball, like I'm filled with anxiety. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, Jax, don't you dare bark. Hey. And I'm like filled with anxiety. I'm like, I can't ever imagine like how much anxiety I would have if I adopt Cantu out and I'm like, are they changing his diapers? Are they making sure everything's clean? Is he okay? Like, and I was just like, and on top of that, like he already has knocked right behind us and right into our heart and our lives. So then like, you know, I reached out to the rest and I said, hey, like I'm going to keep them myself. And then, you know, the dodo reached out and it was just like, you know, the dodo, when they do your interview, you kind of just telling your story. Like I'm telling my story now, like to you about him. Yeah. That's the same way that I told it. And it just felt so natural when I was talking to them, again, crying. Like 50 million people saw my Kim Kardashian crying face in the dodo video. It was like, I was like, oh my God, I still can't get over what I look like when I cry. Like you would think knowing what I look like when I cry would prevent me from crying in public ever again, right? No. Uh, uh, so, and then after it like took off, and I was like, holy moly. And there were people messaging me like about, hey, like I want to adopt a dog like Cantu. I want to foster a dog like Cantu. Like, what do I do? At that point, I was still learning how to care for him. Um, how to what works for his diapers, what worked for his to cover his legs, what worked overall for him. And there was a lot of like trial and error with what I worked out with him. But as time went on, I tried different things, and we kind of just had a full routine. And like this is where like the Instagram influencer comes in, right? Yeah. But I never really consider our page to be an influencer. It's more of a here's what which at the end of the day is what an influencer is, right? Because you tell them like what you do, so they do
information and things like that.
So I kind of just started posting like, what is my everyday routine with Cantu? I didn't just post I didn't just post a cute picture of, Cantu smiling on his wheels. I posted pictures of me legitimately because I carried him when I got home and he shat all over my leg, or me waking up next to a puddle of a wet pillow because he peed so much that his diaper went right through. It's just like, if I'm
real stuff.
I was so much, if I'm gonna post the pretty, I'm gonna post the ugly too. And this is what my life is. My life is picking up after trails of poop every day. If he poops before I make him poop, it's him, sometimes, wearing his pants and he pees so much that, his pants get wet, or the amounts of laundry that I do. So, and I told myself in the beginning, I'm like, I'm going to put everything out on the table of what my life is like taking care of Cantu, because if I can do it, anybody can do it. I'm 27. I'm a regular 27-year-old. I go out with my friends. I have a job. I have a life, but I still made time for him. It changed. My life revolves around my dogs, and that's Cantu, mainly Cantu, because he needs more attention. And kind of like just talking about my experience is what pulled a lot of people in, of any questions that they had, whether it's, why do you put those wraps around his belly? It's his diaper. And I started recording myself changing his diaper, putting him on his wheels, take him out of his wheel, all those things that you would think people know that you do it because you do it every day. So people be like, wow, like that's how you do it. And I'm like, yeah. And this platform it's been, and Cantu also has like the best character, with him pulling his blankets, him being like hard-headed and not letting me help him. He has his own personality, what is it? He walks at the beat of his own drums.
Yeah.
He scoots at the beat of his own drums.
Yeah, he scoots, yeah.
And, posting that, it made a lot of people happy. And, reading those messages of like, oh, if I had a shitty day, like, thank you for posting Cantu. It like, I knew social media was big, and I know it's influential, but knowing that someone that's never met my dog before, if they had like the worst day and they can open up their phone and watch, my dog pulling a blanket, something that he does every day, and that making their day, I'm like, I get to share that with everybody. I get to share that with, and, people messaging me like like humans that are handicapped or handicapable, that are on wheelchairs.
Well, hold on, don't get too far into that. We'll get into that. Hold on one second. I
was like, so that's Cantu's story, and that's how so many.
Do they know how he got paralyzed?
He was born paralyzed.
Okay.
So I know his first owner. And this is, so after Cantu's Dodo video came out, remember how I mentioned that they had the rescue had, the post when I saw Cantu the first time said, backyard breeder gave up puppy in a high kill shelter because they couldn't make money off of him. that was the post.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing it and I'm like, I swear to God.
That was our longest stretch.
I know. It's because I muted everybody. Hold on. How do I go mute? How do I go? Do not disturb. Okay. Do not disturb. If I put it on my phone, I wonder if it goes here. Nope, it doesn't. Not disturb. Let's see. Do not disturb. Okay, I got it on my thing. Perfect. Okay. What was I saying?
We were talking about like why, like his story.
Oh.
So at first,
Yeah, I'll start over. So, and remember how I mentioned that the rescue had kind of made up a story about Cantu? So, they had posted like backyard breeder gets rid of puppy in high kill shelter because they can't make money from him.
Mm-hmm.
So I read that. They told me that when I was talking to them. So that is the story that verbally came out of my mouth when they were interviewing me for the Dodo video. So maybe 5 hours after the Dodo video went live, I got a message on Instagram and said, hey, my name is blah, blah, blah. And actually, she was like, I was the one that rescued Cantu in Texas. And I was wondering if you have time to like have a conversation about what his real story is. And I said, So then she called me, and she was like, hey, like my name is blah, blah, blah. I was the one that picked up Cantu from the house that he was in. And the story that you told, that's not true. And I was like, what? And she was like,
yeah.
And she was like, listen, she was like, Cantu came from a home with his first owner, loved him, cared for him, but just couldn't keep up with his needs. And I said, oh my God. She was like, can I put you in contact with her? And and automatically the first thing in my head was like, what's her name? Do you have her number? Can I add her on Facebook? So I found her, I added her on Facebook. And I said, so my first question was, hey, like, did Cantu's mom have any more letters? Are there any more Cantus out there? And then I said, hey, do you have time to talk? Because at that point, the girl told me, like, that's not the story. So I got in touch with her. And she was like, hey, she was like, I thought you were just going to hate me. You know, that she was reading the comments of people just like telling her to die, why the backyard breeder. And she was like, I'm not a backyard breeder. And I was like, oh my God. And I was like, I felt like my stomach just dropped.
Yeah.
Those words came out of my mouth. Even though I was told that story, it still came out of my mouth. And she was like, she bought her dog and she wanted her dog to have babies for her family. She wanted to keep the puppies in the family. She was like, my dog had a normal pregnancy, gave birth. There were 3 puppies, 2 stillborn, and then there was Cantu. And she was like, you know, his name was Winston. That's his first name. He looks like a Winston, right? And she said, I named him Winston. And she was like, as he grew up, we noticed that he couldn't pick himself up. She was like, but I didn't give up. She was like, I took him to doctors. I took him to this, but I couldn't afford it anymore. And she's like, every day when I would come home from work, we would do water therapy in the tub. And I'm like, oh my God. I was just like, what did I do? Like, what, like, and I was just like, listen, I was just like, I am so sorry. I'm like, this is the story that I was told by the rescue.
Yeah, you didn't do anything wrong in my opinion.
I was just like, and I'm so sorry. She was like, yeah, she was like, please, like, don't tell anybody my name. She was like, I'm just like scared after reading the comments. And I'm like, oh my God. I was like, I am so sorry. And, I send her pictures of Cantu. She sent me pictures of her dog. She sent me pictures of Cantu, like as a baby, like when he was just born. And it was such an incredible experience, and I apologized as much as I could. And we still keep in contact till this day. So,
Did she spay the mom?
Yes. Yes. Okay. Mom and spayed. They didn't have any more letters after that. Yeah, that was my first question,
Yeah.
And she was just like, she's a person, and she's a person that got herself in a situation that she didn't know, because a lot of people don't know that if you cross your dog, like anytime that you have your dogs have babies, even if it's not because of you're selling them, or just because you want to give them puppies to your family, the first question you should always ask yourself is, what's going to happen if one of those puppies comes out special needs, whether they're blind, deaf, have Swimmer syndrome, are paralyzed? Because at the end of the day, you don't know. We're talking about genetics.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing. Is one thing that I've always been big on is educating about genetics, about breeding.
You can't just go and be like, you're a horrible person, you made your dog have
Right.
You're gonna make your dog have. I mean, I've had conversation even with friends, and they're like, oh, I just like, before I get my dog neutered, like I just want them like to have like sex, to like enjoy it. And I'm like, anytime that I hear that conversation, I'm just like, in this world, there's only like 3 mammals that enjoy having sex: humans, dolphins, and monkeys. Any other type of animal, it hurts them. It physically hurts them. And then I always end up with, the second your dog ejaculates, the percentage of them getting prostate cancer.
Yeah, prostate cancer.
And if you don't spay your dog, they might end up with pyometra.
Yeah. So I think it's really big on like people don't know. It's crazy. People don't know. But if you think about it, you would think like, but there's so many resources out there. You can Google, but they don't even know that they have to Google that.
Yeah.
So there needs to be, I've always like kind of started, like ever since starting Best Life, ever since wanting to do more, that kind of thing. There's like this need for general education. And what sucks is, and not that they've done anything wrong,
no, it's
right. Like the Humane Society, SPCA. I wish that they would have commercials saying about dog genetics and this, and here's why, instead of showing broken, starving, diseased animals with a sad song in the background. It's like, no, man,
like how do we stop that? How do we stop these poor sad animals?
Take the funds that you have, take the ability that you have, take the voice that you have, and educate people. Don't just make them think that all rescue animals are broken and sad. Like, as long as they keep showing things like that, people are going to assume rescue dogs and shelter dogs, all of that, are broken, sad, diseased animals.
Yeah.
So it definitely has everything to do with education. And it's definitely like a very mature, almost kind of like, mature, like self-aware, like emotionally mature, that's that whole kind of maturity aspect, to not just automatically hate somebody for making a mistake.
Yeah, and it also, it also comes like, instead of, kind of beating them up because they don't know what you know, just take the time to educate them in the best possible way where you're not insulting them. This is why I love Real Bubbins. I think I'm absolutely, when they reached out to me, and I was just like, this is absolutely incredible. It's because you're educating the next generation, and then you're forcing their parents to teach them what they probably don't even know.
Exactly. Yeah. He even said that parents will come to him and with questions, and they'll say, oh, my kid said this, and that, and they have like questions written down, and they ask them, and it's so incredible, that that is finally happening, but it's also baffling and kind of wondering, like just totally like confusing, and like a riddle me this. It's like, where has this education been all along?
Yeah.
Like, they're out there. Yeah, there's blogs. Yeah, but there needs to be this thing where it's not like shoved down your throat and made guilt of shame. And that's kind of, where we're coming in with Best Life, is stop the guilting and the shaming, and start more so making it as, why wouldn't you want to rescue? And here's, if you don't want to rescue, if you're going to want to buy a puppy, you're going to want to buy a puppy here's how you buy a puppy the right way. You know, like, here's how you do it responsibly. Here's how you do it. They're a legitimate breeder and things. So I think that's really big of you, you know, to be able to talk to her and hear her
Yeah,
say,
I had my conversation with her was more like, can you tell me what happened?
yeah. Yeah.
And,
Is she a little more educated on
oh
like
yeah, oh
why?
yeah.
That's
I mean,
awesome. Good for her.
like even like I have conversation with her, and she was like, I didn't know. She was like, and I'm like, I was like, but now, like, I was like, now you have all the information. She was like, yeah, I would never do that again. So it's just like it took that for her to know, and then it might, you know, other people, like you said, it's like if you really learn about rescue and what these situations that we rescue these dogs from, why wouldn't you want to rescue? Why wouldn't you want to rescue? Because you think that rescue dog, like you said, it's like the crippling, the, you know, the sick,
Like
mean,
things,
yeah, yeah.
snotty eyed, you know, you're like, they're gross looking.
Let's make a commercial about what beautiful rescue dogs we have. I mean, out of the more than 100 dogs that we've rescued this year, every one of those dogs are freaking stunning,
Yeah.
and they have made these families so happy. And you know, it's just like at the end of the day, like I always say, like when you adopt a dog, no, you're not just adopting, you're not just saving one dog. You're saving the dog after that one, because you're making space for that next dog.
Yes.
And you know, and there needs to be some sort of pride that goes into rescuing. And this is
Oh yeah.
being part of a rescue community, being a rescue mom, a dad, being a rescue parent. You know, when people say that out loud, they say it with pride, because that is, you played a huge role in that, you know. And this is why I love Best Life, because you're not only you're giving them a symbol, and you're giving rescue dogs a symbol of, you know, you don't have to say this is a rescue dog. This is, you know, this is their new symbol. This is what they stand for, and you wear it with pride,
Right.
and it just it kind of brings a whole circle together. And it makes you also be part of a community. You know, it's just like you're walking down the street and with your striped, you know, Best Life leash on, and then another person does, and you're like, oh, like, how did you rescue your dog? You know, like, what's his story? Every rescue dog has a story. Whether it was a
and
puppy.
then you have three stripes going, you know, three like rescue dog parents. Someone walks by and goes, hey, what's going on here? And then next thing you know, they're like, oh, we rescued, and that person never knew about rescue. And then boom, there's another person wanting to rescue a dog. So yeah, it's just all about like education and awareness in a positive way. We're basically evolving how we promote dog rescue.
Yeah.
Because we've been doing it one way for a long time, and granted, like, it works for a little while sometimes.
It works for donations.
It does, yeah.
But it also gives people the wrong kind of like impression of what a rescue dog is.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, all right, guys, we got to evolve this. Like, we got to change it.
No, it's just like it's been working one way, but they need to change it up. They need to change it up.
Yeah. So, and just for people to know who are listening, Fatima has actually started a dog rescue recently called the Cantu Foundation, and they are an official rescue partner with Best Life Leashes. And we're incredibly proud to have them as a partner. And we can actually go and help people, like how you guys can like help them out and everything here in a little bit. But they focus on rescuing and rehabilitating dogs in very low income areas, right, at Tijuana and Southern California. Do you want to go a little more into that?
Yeah. So the Cantu Foundation was technically started this year in April. It started with legitimately just two people wanting to help dogs by either using Cantu's platform, through making donations. So Jenna, she's my direct operations in San Diego, and she was following Cantu's Instagram, and you know, she would message me. She was an active rescuer
with the animal pad, right?
Yeah, with the animal pad. She was hardcore rescue. You know, she would rescue dogs, and you know, she messaged me a couple of times, hey, like, can you share my GoFundMe? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, I wouldn't. Like, takes 2 seconds, you know. And then it was just one day that one of our followers sent me a video and said, hey, there's this paralyzed dog in Mexico, and that really needs help. And I remember Jenna always sending me messages and saying, if you ever need anything in San Diego, she goes, please reach out. And I was like, all right. Legit messaged this girl maybe 5-6 times. So I messaged her and I said, hey, Jenna. I was like, I know you work with like, Rescue in San Diego, TAP. And she was like, yeah. I was just like, look, there's this dog. He's in Tijuana. I was just like, can you ask the rescue? Can you ask TAP if they will take him in? And we will raise all the funds he needs for physical therapy, diapers, whatever he needs, we'll do it. She was like, yeah. So she reached out to them and they were like, yeah, sure. Like if you help us, because a handicapable dog throw money. It's like never ending, kind of tunnel of money. And they were like, yeah. So they TAP accepted Pop. His name is Pop. His name used to be also accepted Pop into the rescue. And we started fundraising for him. And within 5 hours of me contacting Jenna drove down to Tijuana, picked Pop up, and they had already a foster lined up for him. And that, as someone like, I knew about rescues. I fostered, foster field with Cantu. I never knew that right there. That was my first example of like the power of social media. The lady that messaged me that was in Canada. Okay. In Canada. Then Ian in Boston contacted Jenna to please, she can help me. Then TAP accepted the dog. Then she drove right down, picked the dog up, brought him back to San Diego on the same day. And that kind of changed. I was like,
kind of change your outlook of the whole influencer thing, right?
I was just like, I'm not out here just like, showing people the brand of diapers that Cantu's wearing. Like, I can make a difference. And this is just me being at home and making a couple phone calls and writing out of how we want to fundraise money.
Yeah.
This is it. That's all I did. I didn't do it. All I did was legitimately connect this lady. The lady from Canada sent me the video. I sent the video to Jenna. Then I got in touch with the lady that had rescued Pop in Mexico. Got her and Jenna, in touch. Jenna picked them up. Jenna did the connection with TAP, and that was it. And I was just like, look at how at that point, like that second, like my circle closed, and I'm like, I adopted Cantu, and now because of Cantu and his platform, we closed the circle and rescued another handicapable dog.
From across the country, by the way.
Across the country, yeah. So I was just like, wow. So then Jenna and I kept in touch, fundraising money for Pop. TAP did an incredible job finding him fosters. Pop went through 4 fosters before he found his forever home. 4. And again, we'll get into it after about, what it's like, or the difficulties that rescues have with finding fosters and adopters for handicapable dogs. But it was just, with fundraising money, I started sending stuff from Amazon directly to the fosters, diapers, people, everything that I knew.
So when you say fundraising money, were you using Cantu's platform to do like a GoFundMe?
Everything was through Cantu's platform. We started a GoFundMe, and that money went into my account. Everything was public because I was just like, I want to make everything public. And also, with Jenna, I showed her, I'm like, this is how much money Pop has raised, minus the fees. And then I started doing deductions with everything that I purchased. And I started sending everything over. I would buy everything that I knew. Every the foster Pop knew. They knew Cantu's diaper routine. They knew what is the best way to put him in the wheels. They knew that
following him.
Yeah, no, because I was just like, I never want a foster that has stepped up to foster a handicapable dog to ever go through the struggle that I went through when I got Cantu. Because I remember thinking to myself, that first night being here crying because I didn't know what to do, and struggling the next couple of months because I didn't have the tools. And now in this scenario, I had all the tools. I knew what to buy. I knew how to, how handy-capable dogs, they thrive in routines. And I know how to make their lives easier. And if that's what it took, just me kind of throwing in what I've learned to make their experience of fostering a handy-capable dog easier, I'm going to do it.
Yeah,
so every foster that Pop had, I FaceTimed with them.
That's awesome. Though. I mean, that's honestly that's what it should be. There should be this like support system.
But a lot of rescues don't have that though.
Yeah,
I mean, how many rescues have someone that will answer their text or call 24/7? There isn't. So we set that up, and then the lady, her name is Rosa from Santuario Esperanza. This is amazing sanctuary in Mexico. She's 71 years old, and she rescues. Like, I always tell her, if you were 21, you would freaking own this. Like, you would own this rescue world, because she is 71 years old. I think 76. She is still rescuing. So I kept in contact with her. That was my first contact in Mexico. So I would send her updates of Pop. And she will be so happy. And she messaged me and she was like, there's a pregnant German Shepherd by my sanctuary. Can you guys help? And here we go, Jenna and I. Again. And then Tap also played a big role with helping us find a foster. There were 2 pregnant moms. It was a German Shepherd first, and then there was another little black dog that was pregnant. And then I said, Jenna, I was like, do you want to, try to do this again? We'll fundraise again and we'll get them everything they need. If Tap can just help us find a foster, that would be great. She said, yeah. So she reached out to Tap. Tap, again, like they were down to earth. They were like, yeah. And I was just like, listen, we'll help as much as we can.
Yeah.
So we started with those 2 pregnant moms. One of them went to San Diego. One of them gave birth in Mexico a day before we picked her up under like a mobile home. And Jenna went down, picked up the mom, Pamela, that they were the office team.
The office puppies, yeah.
And they went, she crossed over to San Diego, and Ginger stayed in Tijuana with a foster. Ginger had like 12 puppies. And I was like, wow. I was just like, and then the donations kept coming. I was like, this is.
So at what point did you say, let's make this official?
So,
and what steps did you kind of like, how did you get that started? Tell me about the process of how it really went from, I'm going to start this nonprofit, what you did next, and how, you could help somebody else figure out how to do next.
Yeah.
And that kind
so actually, so after the pregnant moms, we were kind of like, I was kind of just buying stuff for them. So then I started joining Facebook pages. In Mexico, there's a ton of Facebook pages for dogs that need help. In Mexico, there are a lot of people that are becoming more aware of the mistreatment of animals, and they are speaking up. They are recording it. They're posting it all over social media, and it's going viral.
Awesome. That's great.
So I started joining those pages, like, let me just like cry a little bit more, right? Just give myself more anxiety. So I started following all those pages, and then one day, so at that point, me and Jenna were just like, all right, these dogs are gonna get adopted, it's fine. So I started joining them, and then I saw this post of this beautiful like gray-nosed pit bull, and in the post it said, this dog is blind, and the owner just threw her out of the house. She almost got hit by a car. Can someone help? So then I started reading the comments, and then I saw a lady answer and said, hey, my husband and I just picked her up. If anyone is willing to give us a donation, whether it's food or for her vet bill, she posted the vet bill. They already took him to the vet. We would really appreciate it. So I reached out to her and said, hey, I saw you have her. Like, I want to help. And, and some people like that's a little bit naive of you. How could you just reach out to like random people and just kind of offer to send them money? And I said, I said to myself, he's like, I'm like, my train of thought, I don't know, maybe it's different from other people. And I said, they helped this dog without knowing that they were going to get help.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fine. Yeah. So this dog was really sick. really, really sick, like really sick. And for 2 weeks, you know, they did everything they could to kind of like save her. But, you know, her name is, oh my God, why am I even blanking on this? Her name is Princess. Her name was Princess. And, you know, Jenna went down, met her, you know, talked to the couple that helped us out. And I just was posting everything about Princess, about, you know, her getting better, and then when she got worse, and then just from when we rescued her all the way to when she passed away. And portraying and talking about her story on Instagram, really, you know, got people like, wow, like this is messed up. Like, and then the donations started flooding in again. Princess passed away. It kind of just like, it took a little piece of me out, because again, just started this a month ago. This is the first dog that has passed away after all of us trying to save her, you know. And at that, Princess passed away, and we still have money left. So this is where it started. The couple that helped me, they were down to keep fostering, you know, and we continued. We 2 days after Princess passed away, we had 5 new dogs in the house. And it just started. And then the donations started coming in, and then, you know, everything was going in through PayPal, my PayPal. And, you know, I started reading like, what happens if it's like, it reaches a certain amount, am I gonna get charged in taxes? And, you know, and I was just like, and I knew at one point in my life, I wanted to start a rescue. I knew it. Like, I knew it. I was 26, like, I'm barely 27, so I'm technically 21. And I was like, but I'm 26. I'm barely getting my shit together, you know? And I was just like, I know that I don't want to start this right now because I don't have the time. But legitimately, like,
you've already been doing it.
Like, I didn't find their rescue life. Like, their rescue life found me, dude. It was and it kind of snowballed, and then it became a thing where I need to turn this to a nonprofit, because then I'm gonna get charged in donations that are not for me, they're for the dogs, you know? So learning how to start a nonprofit, try Googling that, and you'll get 10 different things of how you should do in the state that you live in, how much it costs. And I was just like, so I started reaching out to different, rescues like Pig Crew, Sacramento, and, you know, she gave me her experience and what not to do, what to do. So then I went online and I found it's this lawyer that he's retired, and he just focuses on helping people start their nonprofits. And I'm like, of course, first thing in my mind's like, oh my gosh, this is a scam. Like, this is a scam. So I started Googling him. I had a conversation on the phone over with him, and I still wasn't sure, like, because this was like after all the fees of just applying to be a nonprofit, it was going to cost me, I think, my pocket, so like $700 and something.
So it's expensive to start a nonprofit.
Yeah, for his fees, because so start a nonprofit, there is something called articles of incorporation, where it's legitimately like 10 pages of what your rescue and what your nonprofit is about. They break it down into, and it's all legal talk. Like, I'm a scientist. I try to read one page. Like, it took me an hour to try to like really like, you know, take everything in. And I was just like, I can't do this. So this guy legitimately, he's like, I will take the process from beginning to till you get your 501c3 approval letter from the IRS. And I was just like, all right, great.
Yeah.
Actually, let me get his name, so I'll plug him. Might as well, if anyone's listening to this and they wanna help. His name is Tom.
Like basically Tom. So basically, you have to have a nonprofit lawyer. That's kind of like first step.
Some people do it on their own. They will write all that out. But the thing is that you do something wrong in that process, and the IRS will be like, nah, start over. And you have to start with those fees all over again. So it's just like, I can't do that. Like, I'm getting all these donations right now under my name. I'm like, I'm just gonna, I was in that financial position where I was like, I'm just gonna throw the $700 into that. And with Tom, I gave him all my paperwork mid-June, and I had my 501c3 letter mid-July.
That's tough. That's quick. I mean, that's
so quick.
Got the ball rolling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like pretty much the first thing to do, ideally, is, and I know the fees are there and everything, but people could still start a GoFundMe for it. And
yeah,
say,
you
hey,
can start. Of course, this is something you know. If you
yeah.
have like if you have the platform, and you're lucky enough to have that, and you're like, we want to become a nonprofit. This is something you can fundraise for. I decided not to because, like I said, I was in a different financial position where I could spend my own money into it, and the donations stayed for the dogs. But definitely that's something because. The process is you have to incorporate. Then you have to send articles of incorporation. And then every state has different guidelines and different fees of how much this costs, how much the filing fee is, how much if you have to do it every year.
So find a nonprofit lawyer in your state, like almost in your area.
Well, Tom lives in Portland.
Oh. So find a nonprofit lawyer, but I mean, he at least has to know, I guess he has access to everybody does, but he can look up how
he knows the laws of every state and every nonprofit state. So he actually has a Facebook. It's 501c3 for you. It's the letter 4, the number 4 and the letter U.
That's so cute.
And I'm gonna write him a review right now because I can't believe I didn't do it because he has 4 reviews, but really good reviews. That's why I was like, this is gonna be a scam. But no, Tom, I'm very obsessive when it comes to
you find something good and you
on top of things. So I will call Tom every day. I email Tom every day, and he dealt with me, and he was just like, Fatima, it's it's coming, here's this way you have to wait, and he was just super calm, and I was like, I like him, so he can deal with me. And he took from the beginning to the end, but he'll explain the whole process. He has a breakdown sheet of how much this costs in your state. This is how much you're paying for his services, and this is how much the fees are for you to complete everything.
So the fact that he kind of broke everything down, he was very transparent with it. Because my next question was, unfortunately, I wish there was a way to discover who is a scam. Is that a thing, like a nonprofit lawyers? Or
so what I always do is I always, he has his name, always look up names and always look up Yelp reviews. I always put your name or name of the business and then reviews, and then people will talk bad about if they lost money somewhere, and then Tom was also, he incorporated, this is the business that he does. So that's also the way I was able to look him up. But even that was just a process for the paperwork. And then you have to open up a bank account. You have to open up a business bank account because technically a nonprofit is a business. So I had to open up my bank account, and then I had to open up a special PayPal for the Cantu Foundation and give them my paperwork. So they gave me a lower, transaction fee, everything just had to play. And then taxes, how do you do taxes for a nonprofit? And it's what forms do you have to fill out at the end of the year? All of that I got through Tom, and it's yes, it is costly, but at the end of the day, it will save you so much mind space and just time.
So he does the taxes, paperwork. He won't actually do your taxes, but he won't do my taxes.
No, he just kind of tells you this is the form that you have to fill out. Because I guess in a nonprofit, if you get more than $50,000 donation, you have to. If you make $50,000 or less in donations, you have to fill out one paperwork. If you make more than $50,000, then you have to fill out another paperwork. And then if you're depending on your state, you have to fill out a form with your state. Mm-hmm. So, I learned all of that through Tom.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at least a nonprofit lawyer to kind of get started. That's your suggestion. I mean, that sounds like it's the best way to go.
Yeah, and then they shouldn't charge you. They shouldn't charge you more than $1,000. No.
Okay.
Cool. Tom charged me $700 his fee plus the fees of the. They ended up being around $1,200 for me, but his fee alone was only $600. So it shouldn't be more than that, because technically Tom has written out articles of incorporation, and all he did was copy and paste my So technically these lawyers have everything already written. Now you're paying for something that they have worked on before. And then just it's time about submitting it, waiting for it, and then doing follow-up paperwork after.
Okay. And does he continue, will he continue kind of working with you with submitting every year?
I email him still, and because there's some sometimes follow-up paperwork depending on your state after you become a 501c3. So he filed those papers for me, and actually I just got an email last week that I have to send like a fee in just for Massachusetts, because so I can file with them and go from there. Because if I don't do that, then I get charged at the end of the year. So it's like there's a lot, and it's good to have someone there that knows what they're talking about.
So if anything, someone could actually, reach out to a rescue that they work with, and talk to them, and just kind of go from there. But it sounds like
if anybody, well, if you're listening to this, and you want to start your own rescue, I will be happy to give you Tom's information and kind of make it easier on you.
Yeah, that sounds like it's pretty much the way to go. And unfortunately, like you said, starting a business, like I've been through that whole thing, and like it's just we try to do it our own, and then all of a sudden we're just like here, and it was a breeze.
Because then you get to focus on everything else. You get to focus on the things, on what you wanted to start this business nonprofit for.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. That's cool. Well, I think that's going to be really helpful because, like I said, I Googled one day just out of curiosity how to start a nonprofit. And like you said, there's so I'd say start with a nonprofit lawyer, find a good one. Fatima, message Cantu on Wheels on Instagram, let her know. She'll help you out. She'll give you Tom's info. But it sounds like they're out there and they're able to help you with that. Kind of sounds like that's just the best way.
I mean, I had no idea there were nonprofit lawyers. No idea. And then Tom just crossed my path, and he made things so much easier for me.
That's awesome. That's good to know. And then let's go into like, you have the Cantu Foundation, and I just want to mention also because I'm like crossing multiple things. Since we've chatted, at least, you guys started when? In May of this year.
This year, the first rescue, which was Pop, was in April.
Okay, so since April of 2020 of this year, last we talked, you guys had saved 85 dogs.
Now we're about 120.
120 in 6 months. That's insane. That's so cool. And you're in Boston, and these dogs are here in San Diego and Tijuana. So that's incredible. You guys have, you go through fosters through the animal pad, right?
We used to. So TAP played a huge role in our growing as a rescue, because, and technically TAP, as a rescue, dogs is something that you're never gonna, run out of. But finding fosters, finding adopters, that's a lot of work that I do now. And we were lucky enough to be able to, Stephanie and Lauren from TAP were, they were open to the idea of taking in our dogs after after we rescued them and rehabilitated them, and kind of take them in when they got to San Diego and help us find us fosters, because it just became so much easier that all we had to worry about was rescuing and rehabbing. And once they got to San Diego, we knew they were going to be in a good home. And I still kept up with all the dogs, whether it was on Instagram or through.
I imagine you did.
But at the beginning of September, the animal pad, they cleared the shelters in Ensenada. They did an incredible job. Yeah. And, at that point, we were bringing a good amount of dogs back, which was taking over some of their fosters. And, they reached out and said, hey, we're going to need all hands. So we can't take your rescues anymore. And I said, listen, thank you so much for everything you've done. At that point, I already had a good idea of what it took to go from rescuing to an adopter because of them, because I learned their process. Lauren, she's a director of operations for TAP.
Love Lauren.
Yeah, she's down to earth. My God, this girl, we would stay on the phone for a couple hours and her just telling me her experience. And like I said, at that point, like when, you know, that happened and, you know, they had to like kind of have all hands on deck, I was just like, thank you so much for all the help that you've given us. And like, I'm ready for this. Like, this is probably the push that I needed, that we needed as a foundation to kind of like, okay, little birdie, it's time to fly, you know? And I was just like, all right, well, now we have to start a website. We have to start an adoption application, foster application, and we have to start an Instagram, and just, you know, we took off running. And I was terrified. I'm like, what if we can't find fosters? What if we can't find adopters? Like, but, you know, and, you know, it was at the beginning, and it was Jenna and I. And we were like, and, you know, we would talk to each other, and we're like, this is going to be so much work. Like, and she was like, yeah, and I was just like, okay, like, and then little by little, it's like you cross paths with people on social media that want to help you, and they want to connect with you, and they want to help the cause, not my cause, the cause of saving animals. Mm-hmm. And they just reach out. This, I mean, Brianna is an amazing, she has helped us so much. She picks up our dogs. She comes down to rescue missions with us. She's a big part of our rescue. She's my volunteer director now. She handles all the volunteer aspect of the foundation. And then, you know, there's another Jenna, of which Jenna kind of brought structure into our rescue on the adoption process. And, you know,
so it sounds like pretty much like the rescue. I mean, I've always known the rescue community, they want another rescue to start. You know, they want that community to grow. They want that support system to grow.
I mean, there's nothing competitive here. Nothing.
Yeah, not at all. So if anything, if there's anybody kind of going like, maybe somebody out here right now has started a 501, like gone through that whole process. You know, maybe they have everything ready to go, and they're just kind of where you were, like that scared, like stuck, like, man, you know, here we go, the adoption process, the foster process, the application, da da da. Reach out to one of them. Yeah, you know, ask them, say,
what
hey,
do you do? How do you keep organized? It's just like there's nothing. It's like, you know, women supporting women. Like, I know I went there, but it's like that though, because it's like, we're talking about, you know, if a smaller rescue or a rescue that's even, and they're confused about something, or they want what we're doing, it's working for us. I'm just like, I shared Cantu's tips, I'm gonna do the same thing. Like, this one, it's just like, I know how many people helped the Cantu Foundation get to where they are, that I would love to do the same thing right back.
Awesome. Yeah. So I mean, if anything, you know, if you're stuck somewhere or something, reach out to Best Life. You know, we're kind of wanting to connect like rescues and network them and everything. And then, so I would actually want to go into the special needs dogs that it seems that you guys tend to kind of gravitate to, or they find you. And given that Best Life is wanting to inspire more people to rescue through showing them, letting them see that visible symbol of, hey, this is a rescue dog, and I rescued, and look how proud I am. Come join the community, come join, you know, show your stripes. How do you think that we can get more people to be inspired to want to adopt or even foster handy capable dogs?
So my always thing is like, let's normalize having a special needs dog in your home. And let's stop thinking about the work that might go into it, and you have to think as a foster. If you want to foster, you know, you want to help a special needs dog, you have to jump into it. If you think about it too much, you're gonna talk yourself out of it.
I like when you said, let's normalize having a handy capable dog. That's perfect, because not only we're trying to normalize having a rescue dog, like rescuing dogs and having, it's normal. It's not even something that, and saying that just kind of really stuck true with me, because this is going to sound totally off topic. Have you seen the show Schitt's Creek?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, and I love that show. And so they actually had a documentary, because the series recently ended, and they talked about how in the show, homosexuality, like, you know, or different sexualities was just a thing. It wasn't anything that anybody had to learn to accept. It was just, that's how it is, you know.
Or
and that's
how about in that Schitt's Creek, you know, when you think that the relationship is gonna be, he's like, you know, Patrick is gonna be in the closet and afraid to come out.
Yeah, but
They
he's
just
not.
they made it a normal relationship.
Normal thing, because
Because
it
it is.
there is no like having to understand it or have someone get over it. Like even the small town podunk people were like, okay, whatever, you know, like good for you. We're happy for you. So I love that you said, and ever since hearing that on the documentary, when they said they created this universe where like sexuality was just a thing. It didn't have to be accepted. It was normalized. It was just, it's how it is. It just is. And when you say, you know, normalize having a candy capable dog, like hearing those words and imagining that type of universe where there is no needing, how do we inspire people to do that? There is no, and so I think that is probably one of the best answers I've ever heard, is to say we need to normalize it. Yeah. And it's so simple, but it's like,
because
so I think that's smart.
People, you know, and this is where like education comes a big part, and this is why Cantu's platform is always about, this is a day in a life of having a handy capable dog. Like I said, I'm a normal 27-year-old, and I just happen to have a dog that is paralyzed. You know, and it's just like, anytime, for example, I'm walking Cantu down the street, and you know, and there's a little kid, and the mom, and the mom points like, oh, look at that poor dog. And I always just turn around and I'm like, and I look down, I don't even address the mom because she has her own. I look down and said, he's not poor. I'm like, he's happy, he's healthy. I'm like, you want to pet him? Pet him. I was like, I'm like, do you see, he's nothing wrong with him.
Yeah.
And
yeah, because people say like, oh, he did, you know, he's missing out on this. He doesn't know that.
The Cantu's normal. This is Cantu's normal. He's never been able to run on 4 legs. Like, this is normal. So this is, when I mean normalize, I mean like, you know, I've gone on rants on Cantu's Instagram of just crying, you know, because it gets to a point, it gets so frustrating. It gets frustrating. It does. And I know not all of us are cut from the same, what is it called? Cut from the same roots or whatever, you know. Not everybody is going to want to jump at the idea of taking care of a special needs dog. I know that. Okay. But I also know that there's people that have had no experience, and all they need is a little shove to go and do it. And I'm here to shove anybody that I can. So if you're listening to this and you ever seen those videos of, you know, Cantu dragging his blanket, or, you know, Scooty, or, you know, what other special needs dog, you know, any special needs dog, and you're like, oh, I would want to do that. And I'm here to shove you because you can do it.
Yeah,
like shove you right into the idea of doing it, of telling you that you can.
And there's a support system out there. You know, everybody thinks,
I will be your support system. If you want to message me and say, hey, I live here and I want to foster a special needs dog, girl, I will post it all over Instagram and say, is there a rescue here in this town? This girl wants to foster a rescue, and I will give you my number and you can call me. This is what I mean. It's people are scared because of the support system. Yeah. They are, because it's just like, I remember how terrified I was when I had no idea what to do with Cantu.
Yeah. But I mean, I had that with Mr. Breakfast. I was like, how am I supposed to communicate with this dog? You know, what do I do? And they were just kind of like, oh.
Right there alone. It's right there alone, you know. And it's like, I'm here to just help you cross over that line, because I can assure you that the second that you start your foster experience for the special needs dog, whether they're deaf, blind, paralyzed, anything, it will just become your normal life. It won't be something different anymore. The more you're exposed to it, the more we normalize that just being your life, you know, and opening up your home to that, to that new experience.
Yeah. I think that's great. I think that's a great idea. I mean, that's probably the best answer I've heard so far, because, you know, what else are we going to do? Like say like, oh, it's not that hard. No, it is. I mean, it is.
Anytime that anybody reaches out regarding, you know, fostering a special needs dog, especially from our rescue, I personally give them a call and I throw everything out on the table and I say, I can help you on how to control, you know, pee leaking. I can help you control how to, having poop accidents. I can help you control any cuts on their legs to prevent any cuts on their legs. But with me telling you everything that I know doesn't mean it might not happen. You might get home one day and your handicapped dog pooped and then dragged himself all over it.
Yeah.
I put everything on the table and I say,
I always say, like, you're not going to have nice things.
No, never.
Yeah.
My cow, I can't. That's why I love Ruggables, because I can wash them and they come out of the wash just like brand new. Do you see my plug? I use Cantu for a discount code.
I was literally about to be like, I need that discount code because I don't have one yet. I need one.
I put everything on the table, and when that person, and they say, process everything that I just said and give me a call back. And, there's been a couple of occasions where I get a call back and they're like, okay, I'm in. And there's been maybe 4 or 5 times that I've heard, okay, I'm in. And I cry, obviously. I'm crying on the phone.
That's what I feel like, and you cry.
I'm crying on the phone with a stranger that I've never met, thanking them for giving this dog an opportunity that not a lot of people would give. And I want to change.
It's such a fulfilling experience. I think that I know that there's a lot of the dodo is an incredible platform to show how fulfilling everything can be. But I often sometimes wonder if people see videos and they're like, oh, well, that's a special circumstance. Oh yeah, that story worked out. That is a once in a lifetime. That's a rare thing. So it's almost we need to normalize. No, this is just people that sharing the story.
Sharing the story.
It happens all the time. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of let's just say paralyzed dogs. Let's not even say deaf dogs, blind dogs. The amount of paralyzed dogs that just get put down, or just because they don't have that voice or someone to speak up for them, will forever blow. It keeps me up at night. And the only reason, I can legit post a puppy on the Cantu Foundation and I get 10 messages right away. And I know there's never going to be a line out the door for some, people want to foster a special needs dog. I know that. And
maybe if we normalize it.
And for now, that's okay. But if we can, this is one of the reasons why I didn't want to label our foundation as a rescue. I didn't want to put Cantu's Rescues. I decided to name this a foundation because yes, as we're growing, we're focusing on rescuing. But at one point, I hope that we get to the point where we're able to educate and speak up, not just for certain breeds, but for certain special, all the special needs, and and educate and kind of keep moving that forward little by little. Even if it's little by little, one step at a time, we're still trying to make a difference and normalize in this.
Yeah.
But we're living normal life. Is there anything special, different about your life right now? Because you have a special needs dog?
Nope. No.
Me neither.
I'm every other entrepreneur. Yeah.
There's nothing special, but I don't hate, but oh, you're such an angel. Thank you so much for taking care of me. And I'm like, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. But there's nothing special about me.
Yeah. And I think that's what when you say it, people are like, oh, you're so amazing. You're so amazing. No, I'm really not. This needs to be I almost wish I could make it to where it's oh, I have a paralyzed dog. Okay. Cool. That he's cute.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's when someone says I have a
golden retriever right over here. Okay.
Yeah, it's okay, cool, good for you. That's awesome. He's cute. Not anything different about it. So I think you're absolutely right. That is probably honestly really the only correct answer. To be able to inspire more people to adopt them is because just normalize it, to make it where you not need to inspire anymore. And that's kind of best life's goal, and to normalize just dog rescue. And so I definitely hope that handy capable, paralyzed, deaf, blind, whichever else dogs fall into that category of where it's a normal
and
normal
they
thing.
have, and sometimes there are a lot of rescues that shy away from rescuing handy capable special needs dogs because they know that apart from it being costly, it's also hard to get them adopted, get them fosters. And, not saying that, I'm shaming any rescues that shy away from that because I know every time we rescue a special needs dog, every time the amount of stress on my body goes through, and I would be lying to you if when we get reached out of a special needs dog and there's point in the first thought in my mind, and it's so quick that I can't even catch it, is don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. But then that's like for 1 second it goes through my mind. But then I snap myself out of it and I'm like, it's okay. Like I can deal with the struggle if it means to give this dog opportunity. At least for our rescue, I can't turn away from a special needs dog just because, and especially I have a paralyzed dog of my own, that has given me the opportunity through his platform. It's not my platform, it's his platform, to be able, I can't turn away from that.
Yeah.
But the truth is, there is a capacity of the amount of special needs dogs that I can have, because then if I just have those, then everything will get clogged up and it will be hard to move forward. So we don't shy away from them, but we do have not a limit, but see how much we can handle, because there's a lot. There is not even financially, it's just it's a lot to finding fosters to take in these dogs long-term. And I mean long-term because sometimes it's harder to find them adopters.
Yeah, I've had a foster dog for about 3.5 years, I think is my longest one. Yeah, I was like, somebody please adopt this dog. I loved him. I was like,
it's true. It's true though, and it's just thankfully, I think our longest dog in foster was a special needs dog, and it was almost 4 months. We currently have a special needs dog, Speedy, and he's been with his fosters for 2 months, and his fosters are the definition of what I want every foster for a special needs dog to be.
Right. So one question I've always it popped up in my head, because how do we normalize special needs? How do we normalize them? How do we go about that?
I mean, I'm still trying to answer that question.
That's a tough one, right? Yeah, I was like, you had a really good answer.
How do you normalize? I mean, in my part,
education.
Talking about it. It's just keep showing, my everyday life through Cantu's platform and his experience and my experience, and and then if you're working from home and you have another dog that gets along with other dogs, and foster a handicap dog, please.
Yeah. I think you're right. Yeah. I mean, it's a very difficult question, because it's so hard to normalize something that so much of society doesn't see as normal. But I think that with what we're starting, with what you're doing, with Best Life is doing, what Bubbins is doing, Jason and I of Bubbins, we kind of joke and say we're assembling this team of people to change and to evolve the world and the advance and evolve the perception of dog rescue and the dogs that come from it and people that come from it. And so I think with time, over time, we'll eventually probably pass this on to someone else, and another generation, and then that generation. So I'm just hoping that, everything else with there's been so many advances in society with humans, and so and normalizing and acceptance and progressiveness with that. So I'm hoping that will eventually transfer over to dogs.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I love Jason's goal, senior dogs. I mean, you have frosted faces, just rescues that just focus on one niche of a niche of dogs that literally people don't even turn that way. Senior dogs, because they're old and they might come with medical problem. And it's just like, we're normalizing through special needs, and because senior dogs are not special needs, they're not, you know, and normalizing that, you know, having rescues that just focus on that, it's incredible, you know. And I like I said, I don't shy away. Our rescue, I mean, we have Betty. Betty just got Betty's our she was one of our first senior dogs that we rescued. She's 12 and living her life. I mean, just the story with Betty, I went down to Mexico, and, you know, I was handling things with my foster, and he was like, these are the dogs that we have. And then it was like, Betty was like in a kennel that had hay in it, right? And I was like, what's that? It was this little black thing walking towards me. And I'm like, and then I see Betty. And then I'm like, and you know, the person that was showing me was just like, oh, and like, you don't have to worry about her. She's old, like, she has tumors, like, you know, it's okay. And I was just like, and I turned, I was like, no. I was just like, I'm gonna take her. He was like, I was just like, I'm gonna take her. It's fine. I was like, she just needs a couch to hang out in. I was just like, I can do that. I can do
so easy. Like, they're so easy. I love seeing your dog.
I mean, the second I saw her tumors and stuff, I was just like, okay, this is gonna be costly, but it's worth it. I can't put a number on a dog's life.
No, you can't do it to people.
I know Betty's surgery was gonna cost us thousands of dollars. I know. Yeah. But you know what? I mean, this is about, you know, being the founder of a rescue. I get to pull a dog. If I get to see it, I'm like, oh, we're using it. We're taking it.
You get to decide.
I was just like, I was like, I'm gonna make one decision here by myself, and we're taking this dog. But everybody came on board with Betty, because I am lucky enough that I work with an amazing group of girls that have the same passion and drive that I have. And I never expected to meet, I just met them in September after working with them for months before that. Meeting people that you've been talking to every day, meeting Jenna, I legit just met Jenna in September.
You cry?
No, I didn't cry. She's not a crier, so I can't cry in front of her. You know, it's like a different way. It's a different connection. And knowing how involved they were because the rescue grows, the more dogs we help. And that's what drives us, right? Yeah. Everybody that's involved in the Cantu Foundation is a volunteer. Every adoption processor, every foster processor, every, you know, what's it called, our writers that write the bios for our dogs, so they give them the voice. These are people just giving us their time, giving us their talent because of the love they have for dogs. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that's what like drives me. Apart, you know, seeing the dogs thrive, it drives me, but like also seeing the passion of these people, just I never knew that I was gonna find the same people that are so similar to me when it, you know, and that have the same drive, same passion about dog rescue. And I am so, and this is all because of Cantu's platform, that I got to meet them. And it's incredible.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm probably gonna wrap up here soon, but I have a couple of questions. Here, let me put this down real quick. That was a good conversation. I was like, I don't want to stop. Here we go. I have to like cover myself. It's so bad. I'll like look at myself the whole time. It's so bad. It's like I just want to make sure I'm not making like a
I'm like looking straight at you, but then I look up and I'm like, did I just go cross-eyed? I think I did.
I caught myself one day and I was like, don't make that face, Liz. Like, what the hell are you doing? Like, but so I'll just kind of do like a little wrap up thing here. And then Cantu is a proud member of the Stripe Squad. That's what we like to call the rescue dogs letting their stripes show, which he does so very well, I might add. His little wheel the other day at that video where he like ran through the house and like to his wheelchair. It was so adorable. I watched it probably like 50 times. And he looks really good in that olive green. He's probably.
I know it makes him pop. It really does.
Really good. But so we're going with that, letting their stripes show and letting people see what dogs are rescues. Fatima, do you believe it's important for people to be able to easily know what dogs are rescue dogs?
Of course. And I think, again, this is just going back to normalizing the idea of a rescue dog. And it's true. I mean, we're just talking about normalizing, but it's just like, you know, your company or your business is trying to achieve is giving them a symbol. And this is about people that don't know about rescue, people that grew up buying their family buying dogs from breeders, you know, as long as we keep talking about best life and what their symbol and, you know, what their symbol stands for, the more people are going to know. So when I'm walking a purebred Rottweiler, Ariana, wearing her stripes because she's a rescue dog, a family has been buying Rottweilers from a breeder their whole life, is going to see that. And that's normalizing, because they can get a Rottweiler from a rescue. It's not that often, but every dog that they will see with those stripes will normalize what kind of dog and and then not only that, it's just like, let's just talk about like normalizing the fact that, you know, there's purebreds in rescue, but also like there's the story behind them, you know, because I think your symbol and the reason why I gravitated towards it is because, when I tell you that those stripes give them the voice of their story, of their background. This is not just a symbol of feeling like, oh, that's a rescue dog. No, those stripes also give them, it gives them a chance to be like, that dog is a story. If you saw Ariana now, would you ever believe that she was once 30 pounds underweight and had like a big gash in her head because someone beat her? No. But those rescue stripes are gonna see like this dog, and then if someone stops and like, oh, this is a rescue dog, I make sure that everyone.
What's their story?
What's her story? And you know, in Gifsy Adopted, I didn't just rescue I didn't just, you know, rescue a purebred. I rescued a purebred dog that had a bad start in life. And you know, it also gives them a sense of, you know, of being proud about it. And I know normalizing it, you know, it's not making, you know, people feeling proud and stuff, but it's like, it's true. You're part of a community. It also, you know, the stripes give dogs, you know, it gives dogs, you know, the chance to tell their story, but also it gives the adopters and the people that adopted them, you're part of a community, a big community, you know, of people that just wanted to give a dog a second chance.
I love that. And what do you think having the 2 white stripes as a symbol for rescue dogs is going to do, or could do, or will do for the world of dog rescue?
What it will do to the world, I think.
What it will do for the world of dog rescue
is you're giving them a symbol. That's, I mean, no, who's done that before?
Oh, there hasn't been one. That's why we looked around and we were like, well, let's make one. Like, literally, I was just like, well, let's make one then. I don't know why there hasn't been one, but
no one's done that before.
No. There's like different logos for like SPCA, Maine, and, you know, different rescue logos.
But we're talking about
nothing that is said.
That symbol,
this dog is a rescue.
It brings it in.
Yeah, and it kind of, we use it as like a way to like open conversation and like break the ice to talk about the story and things like that. So the 2 stripes actually resemble is the bond and the story. So yeah, I didn't know that.
I mean, I was thinking about like stripes, like, you know, when you like, I don't know, the way that I saw it, truthfully, let me tell you the way that I thought about like the stripes, like, you know, like a warrior stripes.
Oh, I like that too. Yeah.
That's the way that I thought, like they earned their stripes of where they are right now.
I like that. Yeah.
You know, like these dogs earn their stripes. they're here because they were warriors and they are resilient and they got whatever they got when they're here and with a good family and they're showing their stripes.
Yeah, I like it. I love that. We're gonna have to like incorporate that somehow.
It's like give the dog their stripes.
Yeah. I might have to like get like pictures of people like get one of you and Cantu.
That's the way I thought about it first. I mean,
we might have to incorporate that.
I love that bond, you know, of their story and you know the dog. And,
yeah. But it could still be like story and bond. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We might have to do like a photo shoot with that.
Every one of our dogs that we rescue, they're survivors.
They are. Yeah,
they're survivors. They're warriors.
And it's really cool getting to see, because like people see Breakfast and how happy he is and how friendly he is and da 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 da, you know, and they're like, well, guess what he came from? Like, and he can still be this way. So that's another kind of point, is like you said, you know, where they are now, where they came from, like dogs can do this. They can be rehabilitated. They can like come back from bad situations and be okay, you know, be happy, friendly, you know, social dogs.
And live the life they were always supposed to live.
Exactly, yeah. And for anyone listening, if you have a rescue dog and want to let your stripes show and you want to support the Cantu Foundation, head on over to bestlifeleashes.org and use the code CANTU, that's CANTU at checkout. You'll get 10% off your leash and or collar, but we'll also donate matching items to the Cantu Foundation. And leashes and collars are just kind of a constant need, rescues are in constant need of leashes and collars, and what better ones for them to have and incoming fosters and adopted dogs than the leash string symbol for rescue dogs. Leash and collar donations help rescue allocate more funds towards really important things like veterinary care, food, medications, behavior rehabilitation, you name it, you know, they need it. So if you'd like to help the Cantu Foundation even more, head on over to the website, go to the donate page, donating $5, you know, $1 here and
every
there.
Penny counts. There's no such thing as a small donation.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you, Fatima. It was awesome talking to you. I'm sure we'll have plenty more conversations in the future. Especially when you come here in San Diego. I can't wait.
Oh, yeah.
It's so much fun. Let me just stop recording that. Hold on.